Welcome to the class. We start on this session of Science of Soul. Who am I really? What is my identity? And obviously our class begins by thanking Sreshta and family that did sing for us. Truly, truly wonderful. I was just thinking if we can just continue the music and kirtan rather than my class, but that will be change of promise. So we can do that some other time. So Radhesham Prabhu, His Grace Radhesham Prabhu, who is our temple president in Pune, and he has arranged, apart from wonderful Pune congregation, he has arranged these PowerPoints, a very concise way to explain Bhagavad Gita. We really thank him for that. His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj, whose life journey and dedication is resulted into this congregation. And we are able to connect with community. We are able to explain Bhagavad Gita. We are able to practice our spiritual life only under his shelter, because he is keeping so many things going at the same time in the congregation, and he always encourages us for more. And as a result, there is no upper limit to what, as a team, what we may end up achieving. There is no upper limit on that. Every time we think we have hit our limits, he changes the game, and now we know that there are higher limits to achieve. Overall, the flow of this course, the prep session was sent for Does God Exist? Many people may not even need that session because many people believe that God does exist. It's just the confidence that God really, really, really exists is something that can be released while looking at that session. The second session, which we have made it dormant at this point in time, which is Access the Truth Beyond the Four Defects. That session is specifically for people who are like atheists and they have a hard time believing in Bhagavad Gita. We have a session for them. If we find some qualified ones, we can have a special session for them, no problem. In the past, we found that it was too much detail for many people. It was philosophical and challenging. So the third session, which we finished last time, was Practical Vedic Solutions to Problems of Life. So we apply, ultimately we are looking for happiness. We all would agree on that. For that, we get married and we do education and we do jobs and we do business and we do social work, everything to become happy. And still, there are problems of life that chase us, which is birth, death, old age, and disease. As if that is not over, there are three types of miseries, which are mind and body related, other people or living beings troubling us, that could include animals. And then the third type is the natural disasters. So the birth, death, old age, disease, problems related to mind, body, people or things around us, and natural disasters are chasing us. These are the real problems of life. And what do we throw at those problems? We throw at those problems our scientific advancement. We throw at them some our economic advancement. But the science and economics cannot help us with these 7 problems. And that is why we say, would you like to try something else, which is the Vedic solutions. And the Vedic solutions to the problems of life is something that this whole course is all about. But we talk about the infallible nature of the Vedic scriptures, where 5,000 years back, the books which were recorded predicted things which are coming in next few thousand years. And that is where you start to get the confidence that it's not ordinary human being who can tell us what's coming up after thousands of years. There must be some higher powers, there should be some higher intervention. And that is where we dive into the next session, which is today, which is existence of soul, fact or fantasy. Who am I? We may have heard about Atma, we may have heard about soul, we may have heard about spirit, we may have heard about Bhatakti Atma, Trasta Atma. There are so many ways we call anything. But today we are going to dive into this session, which is one of the most important sessions that every human being should attend from my point of view, primarily because the ABCD of spirituality begins with knowing who I am. Where do I belong? And how do I go there? So who am I? If that itself is confusion, then think of the situation about the journey towards some as a destination. For example, if I do not know where I am today, just GPS location point of view, there is no way I can go anywhere in life, any destination, because to go to any destination, the starting point is where am I? Just like that, to make life successful, it begins with knowing who am I and what does that mean? And that's the session that we are going to get today. That will be followed by substance and shadow, which is where we will get into more details about this existence, the higher beings, and the supreme personality of Godhead. We would look at what does that mean. And even if finally we say, okay, God is one, and this is how the Bhagavad Gita describes who is and what is God, the question is then why so many religions? And we will get into the comparative study analysis of different religions. And then we will look into consideration, how do we practically apply everything we learned? Because at the end of the day, if we cannot apply it, it's just theory, right? And theory is only good as a theory. But if we can practically apply something, that is perfection. And the last session, which will be conducted by none other than our His Grace Rama Mukunda Prabhu, who is my partner in crime on this series. He helps me organize everything to the point he keeps me honest if I am deviating away from anything that is not scriptural in nature. He's just kind enough that he's not coming up too many times, but he will point to me. So he's going to cover us, why do bad things happen to good people? The law of karma. Because many a times in life we wonder why this person was so nice and how did it happen to him? Whether it is pandemic, whether it is accident, whether it is loss of jobs, whether it is family trouble, anything. We really feel sad for some people who appear to be very nice people and they get in trouble. And our question is, why this person? Does God even exist? Because at the same time, when this good person is suffering, we see a lot of bad people enjoying. And we're like, is there God? Is there really any justice in this life? And that is where the 7th session, law of karma, really nails all sessions together into one, which is why do bad things happen to good people? And once we understand these 7 sessions, there is no question of life that is unanswered. And hence we recommend, if you join in the middle of this batch, our recommendation is you continue. And when we start the next batch again, you cover what you missed. Also, we are sending all the recordings for your pleasure. So these are the sessions that we're going to see today, the topics that we're going to cover. Am I matter or am I spirit? Am I this body or am I something else? And then what are the 6 changes this body goes through? What are the scientific evidences for the existence of this anti-material personality or God particle, as scientists call it, or soul in English and Atma in Sanskrit? What is this that we will get into? We will look at the mechanics of reincarnation, which we kind of broadly believe in for many people, and many people don't on this earth. But what are the mechanics of that, and what do scientists talk about it? There is one session which is different between soul and God. We are going to move it to the next session. And then we'll talk about the practical benefits of knowledge of soul in everyday life. Any questions on what you may have heard so far? Any questions you have that you want answered today? Feel free to add your questions in the chat window. Feel free to ask it now. We'll make sure that before this series gets over, all your questions are answered. All right. Am I matter? Am I the spirit? What am I? So in this question, who am I? Dr. Harry Monson, professor of anatomy at College of Medicine in Illinois, he did a simple study of how many chemicals we have in this body. And he found that there is some calcium, phosphate, potassium, sulfur, sodium, magnesium, and few more things, right? Iron, copper, iodine. There are a few that are not recognized here. So all of this, if I try to buy it on internet, it will cost me very less. It will be costing me like a few dollars. Maybe it will cost me like a couple of dollars, right? And that is where the question is, are we this 110 rupees or $2 worth of personality? I think the simple answer is no. Why? Because anytime we hear about somebody, some dear one, near one, friend, relative, or anybody getting into a car accident or something, we have never seen everybody going and rescuing the car. We see that the ambulance, the cops, the relatives, they will go and try to rescue the person. How is that? We have a $2 personality fighting for life, and we have this, $100,000 car, maybe $500,000 car, and we are trying to rescue not the car. That does not make sense, because if we are only $2 worth, the first thing we should go and rescue is the car. Like when Lady Diana, Princess Diana, when she got into an accident, her car was very costly. But you know what? All the medics and everybody, they were trying to save her. So that clarifies at a very logical level, based on how we make decisions, is we are not this calcium, phosphate, and everything. We are much more than that. We are a personality. For example, this beauty queen, when she was alive, she was kind of ruling the hearts of many. But when dead, as you can see, there are no feelings, no thinking, no desires, no movement, and no consciousness. Nothing. Not even attractive for that matter. It's the same body. It's the same body whom we did shake hands with, we did meet, the friends and family would go and hug. And it's the same body at this point in time is decaying, smelling, and people are looking forward to get rid of it as soon as possible. To the point when the relatives, when somebody dies, they say, they do not call that body the person anymore. They do not say, call the body by name. They just say the body. The body needs to be burnt. The body needs to be preserved. The body needs to be moved. Anything is the body. So what happened? The same person that you were shaking hands with, the same person you are playing sports with, the same person you are eating on the same dining table with, what happened suddenly that this person is not person anymore? Now it is a body. And Radha Gopinath Prabhu, who is our veteran of DYS classes, and for years I have followed his style of preaching, and he's my teacher in that sense for DYS classes. He tells a very nice story of how he was invited to one of his relatives' death. And when the relative expired and Radha Gopinath Prabhu was invited to the home, over there it was only that dead relative and his wife. and if that dead relative and wife and other relatives had not arrived. So the body had to be kept overnight and burnt next morning. And now somebody had to be with the body at night. And the wife refused, said, no, I cannot stay here. So who was left? The only gentleman in the house was Radha Gopinath Prabhu. He had to stay with the dead body whole night, and he couldn't sleep either, because what if he wakes up? So do you see the difference between the dead body and the live body? That when the body is live, the wife is looking for privacy. She does not want in-laws. She does not want many relatives. She doesn't want too many friends coming. She wants to be in privacy, in connection with her husband. She's looking for privacy. But then what happens when the soul leaves? The same wife does not want to stay there alone. No privacy, please, right? Previously, if she was touching the husband's feet and starting her cooking, now she will take shower if she touches the feet. So that's like, it's a yucky thing. So if I think I am this body, why the body goes through so much rejection at the point of death? There must be something else in the body, and that something else is the Prana Shakti or Chaitanya Shakti or Atma, vital force. You can call anything, but Atma is the Sanskrit word for that. And when the Atma leaves the body which was growing, the body that was healing itself, the body that could run, the body that could jump, the body that could do miraculous feats that we see in the Olympics, the same body, it now takes 4 people to carry on their shoulders. Not only that, the body starts to become heavy. If we leave the body alone, all the germs and worms and the bacteria which were living inside the body, now they start to expand, grow, and they start to consume the body. They start to disintegrate the body. That is nature's garbage cleaners. They start to disintegrate the body in terms of the gases to be released in the nature, and everything starts to decay very fast. All the small creatures and ants will come out of nowhere. They start consuming the body, and the nature starts feasting on what we thought as ourselves. And this Atma, who is now not in the body, is outside of the body, looking at the body, start to think, gosh, I thought that's who I am. And I felt happiness, I felt insults, I felt connection to my country, I felt connection to my body, I felt connection to my wealth, I felt connection to, when I sent a post on Facebook, how many people liked it, right? It was so important. How much moisturizer I bought to keep the skin fresh and glowing. How many clothes did I wear? The wardrobes were full. It was hard to organize that. How many investments I made? How many friends I collected? All of this is gone because all of that belonged to this body, and that body is also going out of existence now. That is the observation of the soul. When the body dies, when the person dies and the soul comes out, the first thing that happens is, as per scriptures, as per Garuda Purana, the first thing that happens is Yamadutas come and grab you. Now, why do Yamadutas come and grab you? There are 3 Yamadutas, and the 3 Yamadutas will catch the soul for 3 types of activities that the person has done with mind, body, and speech. These are the 3 ways the person has done wrong things, and the 3 people come to catch and take it to the darbar of Yamraj. Yamraj is that devata who has the right to do the justice to the karma. The law of karma gets balanced in front of Yamraj, and the next destination is informed to the soul. What's your next life? And once the book is read, the accounting book of karma is read, which is maintained by Chitragupta, and the Yamraj says, what is your next life? Then the soul is brought back where the person died. And now for around 10-12 days, the soul is roaming around where the dead body is. And now the soul is watching all the drama. What is the drama? Near ones and dear ones crying. The first day, it is like, how am I going to survive without you? And the second day, it's like, I'm hungry. Did anybody cook something? The third day is which relatives came, which did not come, and now we are going to nail who did not come. Fourth day is gossips and conversations. The fifth day, day by day, the soul is watching how quickly these people are ready to forgive me so soon. And by 8th and 9th day, people are saying, oh, my kid's exams are due. And, because of this, now my kid is going to miss exam and so many logistical issues. And 9th and 10th day, people are even planning their vacations and everything else. So the soul notices that so-called family life, which he thought or she thought is the center of maintenance of happiness, how quickly people move on. Some people are unhappy and crying and really unhappy. Some people are neutral and some people don't even care, right? They're there as a social etiquette, so to say. So the point is, the soul goes through a purification process of watching all that. On the 10th day, at least, in some cultures it is sooner, some cultures it is slightly late. But on the 10th day, there is a ceremony where the food is prepared and it is offered to that soul. And if that soul, at this point in time, that soul is not just soul, it is soul, mind, intelligence packaged together. If the soul stays near that food, then the crows, the birds, which can see people and this person also, the dead person, they will not come near the food. And if they do not come near the food, that means that person is still hanging around. That means this person has some desires, unfulfilled desires. And that is where all the near ones and dear ones will start making promises and start making offering that, okay, if you're worried about your child's education or marriage, I will take care of it. If you are worried about your grandchild something, I will take care of it. Or if it is siblings who are always quibbling, sibling quibbling makes sense. So then, we will live together peacefully. Some promises are made to see whether that's why this person is stuck. And at the end of it, that if that person, basically when the crows come and touch the food, that means the soul has moved on. So it's a very, very scientific process. It's just that science does not involve what today's science knows. But many even people who study crows, they can recognize people. Even these living people, they can remember you. They have photogenic memory. But the knowledge beyond that is they can see dead people also. That is the beauty of the crows. And that is why the process is built around the crows. So when this dead body is lacking the soul, what's the next thing? People will carry this dead body on the shoulders, and then everybody is going towards the Samshan Ghat, right? Now, while going to the Samshan Ghat, what do people say? Probably everybody knows that. So if you see 4 Hindus walking in the same direction together, and if they are chanting God's name, I repeat, if you see 4 Hindus coming together, and if you see that they are chanting God's names, somebody must be dead. Why? Because all our life, if somebody says, Bhagwan ka naam lo, naam smaran karo, bhajan karo, kirtan karo, mandir mein jao, to hum log kya kehte hain? What do we say? Log kya kahenge? Log kya kahenge? Log kya kahenge? Ye कहने में जिंदगी बिता दी. मरने के बाद लोग क्या कहेंगे? राम नाम सत्य है. अगर मरने के बाद राम नाम अगर सत्य है, तो जिंदगी में क्यों नहीं? जब हम जिंदा है, when we are alive, why Ram Nam is not Satya? Why everything else is Satya? iPhone, movies, Netflix, why all that is Satya? Job, 401k, all that is Satya, all that is truth. But God's name is not truth. But when we die, now everybody is saying Ram Nam Satya hai. So there is a lesson to be learned in this, that come together and chant God's name while we are alive, while we are together, and enjoy, relish. The family that prays together stays together. So diving to the next slide. What is Krishna saying? Krishna is saying, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. Jo Atma hai, it has no birth, no death. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. So very emphatic, Krishna is repeating, and he's again turning the same words again to say that the soul will never come into being. So what does that mean? The soul is eternal, ever existing. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Why this is so important? Why Krishna is emphatically saying this? Because the first chapter is where Arjuna is talking about, Oh, my relatives, my teachers, my friends, so many people are fighting on the other side in this great battle where 640 million people died, 64 crore people died. Mahabharata, 5,000 years back. It happened. It ran for only 18 days. So, in the world history, if you look at it, it is World War Zero. After that, there was World War One, World War Two, whatever you call it. But World War Zero, 640 million people died, which is way more than World War One and World War Two. How did so many people die? Because they had divine weapons, was what we call it as a nukes and all that today. They had divine weapons which were way more powerful, Brahmastras and Divyastras. So before the start of this war, because this war was a fight between a group of two cousins, Pandavas and Kauravas, and the question was, what is right, what is wrong? And Kauravas had behaved very consistently wrong and unfairly to the point of trying to kill and cheat Pandavas. And that is where, when the war was about to start, that's when Arjuna lost his desire to fight, and suddenly he started becoming very non-violent, Gandhiwadi, so to say, where he was saying, Krishna, I would rather go to the jungle and live by begging, but instead of killing so many people, because if so many people die, their families become orphan. When their families become orphan, then the whole culture of the society goes down. When the culture of the society goes down, there's the Varna Sankara. And basically, we all become responsible for a fall down of dharma. The whole society will collapse with so many people dying. And that is where Krishna is saying, Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means fighter tribe. And if you're a Kshatriya and your job is to uphold the dharma, then that's your nature. So because that's your nature, today you may say, let me renounce everything. I do not want kingdom. I do not want wealth. I will just go and be in the jungle and I will live by begging. When you go for begging to somebody, and if they don't give begging or they insult you, you will again pull out your weapons and you will want to fight. So if your nature is to fight, do your own duty, even if you do it incorrectly, rather than doing somebody else's duty to beg and all that, or renunciation, imperfect. So instead of doing that perfectly or trying to do perfectly, just focus on your own job. But Arjuna's question is, so many people in front of us will die. And that is where Krishna explains that because the real identity is soul and soul is eternal, you really cannot kill anyone. You are basically, what is happening is the bodies are changing. They will get their next life. You will get your next life. And hence, everyone will continue at a soul level, but at a body level, there will be new bodies. But in the process, you have done the differentiation between the right and wrong. And because you are fighting and doing this violence to uphold the truth, that is the right thing to do. And that is the message of Bhagavad Gita. God knows how any politician could read Bhagavad Gita and get the message that Bhagavad Gita is all about non-violence. Because Bhagavad Gita was spoken and then the Mahabharata began. And Mahabharata, 640 million people were dead in 18 days. How anybody could go to Bhagavad Gita and say, oh, it is such a non-violent book. And that is why we all supposed to be non-violent. And somebody gives you slap from one side, you give another cheek. So that is a mystery, I would say. But another example is, at the time of freedom fight in India, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, who was a classmate of Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, and he went outside India and he collected Indian origin army in Britishes. He turned them against Britishes, 40,000 of those, INS, Indian National something army. So this army, out of that army, around 26,000 people died fighting the British. And that was in the middle of all this World War II. And this happened, World War II, which ended around 1945, and we got the freedom. India got the freedom in 1947. So obviously, that amount of bloodshed that happened, it was done by the Indian army itself, fighting opposite to Britishers, was a big impact for British Empire, because on one hand, they were extremely weak at the end of the Second World War. And then this Indian army turning around was the last nail in their coffin. And that is where they had to know that either there is a huge bloodshed waiting for us in India, or we better vacate. And they decided to vacate. And to blame it on Gandhiji that we got the freedom is a joke, because the last political movement that Gandhiji did was in 1942, Chauri Chaura, a police chale jao, quit India movement. One police station was burnt, and within that, couple of cops died. And because the movement became non-violent to violent, Gandhiji immediately cancelled it. All glories to him. But from 1942 till 1947, there is no political movement to get Britishers out of India. And hence, if there is a 5 years of lull, if there is a 5 years of silence, how under the sun that resulted into freedom? Obviously, it came from the 1945, which was so closer to the actual freedom that India got. So this whole idea of I am this body becomes a assumption of weakness in life. And that is where people are not able to do the right thing in life in terms of when it comes to violence. Does that mean we are supposed to be violent? Does that mean we are supposed to go around killing people? Absolutely not. The violence has to be surgical. What does surgical means? A surgeon, when goes and operates a patient, is also using a knife, is also cutting the body, and also removing what is not working in the body. So the violence has to be surgical, and hence we have the democracy, we have the court system, we have the cops, and they are supposed to perform the violence of catching the bad people, prosecuting them and putting them in jail or hanging or whatever in a very surgical way. What does surgery means? Violence to the minimum possible, so that only the not working part is corrected in the society, right? So that's the message of Bhagavad Gita, which very much aligns with how the society is supposed to function. And it has no place for weakness. It has no place for letting the bad things happen when we're supposed to do the right thing. If that means standing up, then that's what is necessary. That is the message of Bhagavad Gita. But that all begins with the fundamental identity of who I am. Because to convince Arjuna to fight, the number one thing Krishna tells him is, you are not this body. So stop being very compassionate towards somebody dying or not dying. As a Kshatriya, you're supposed to fight for the right thing. What is the difference between body and soul? Body is made out of matter. What is matter? We just saw the phosphorus and potassium and so many things. That is matter. So what happens when somebody dies? The matter starts to disintegrate. What is keeping it together? The soul. The same soul that powers our body, and when the soul leaves, the body becomes zero power, right? The same soul also empowers the soul of the mosquito. The same soul also powers the body of the whale. So if you look at it, it's the same soul, what is the size of a soul? The size of a soul is 1/10,000 times. If you take a tip of a hair, break it down 10,000 times, that small minute thing, that is the size of the soul. Again, it being a different dimension, it is not a material dimension, so it's not something we can see, we can feel it. How do we feel it? When the soul is in the body, the person is alive and kicking and joking and walking, and when the soul leaves, all the money in the world is no good. All the powers in the world are no good. The person cannot do anything. The person cannot relish anything. So the body is made out of matter. So if you look at body, basically we are walking dead. If you take the spirit out, we are walking dead already. We appear to be alive, we appear to be joking, we appear to be talking because of the presence of the soul. So if we start recognizing people around us as soul instead of body, we will be able to connect with them in their true identity. What does that true identity mean? When we recognize other people at a soul level, the very first thing that will go away is, I am black and you are white, and you are brown and I'm yellow, and I speak this language and you speak that language. This is all called as a skin disease. Skin disease means what? It is all connected with the body. And it all goes away because now you're connecting with children of God, all the spirit souls at a soul level. Body is not conscious. You go to a dead body and kick it hard, the body will not respond. You go to a alive person and kick him hard. What happens? That person will also kick you hard. So there is a difference between you kicking a dead body and a alive person. The body keeps changing all the time. Body is never constant even for 1 minute. By the time we started the class, so many cells in our bodies are dead, and there are so many cells which are born new, mutation. So our body is changing all the time, and in every 7 years, they say, all the cells in our body are replaced with the brand new cells. That means we are brand new every 7 years. So what are we worried about? Because what we think who we are is changing continuously. Soul never changes. Soul is constant, no change. Body by nature is temporary. Very fact body is born, that means it is going to die and it's going to disintegrate. Soul is eternal. Body by default is dead. Body is not alive. It appears to be alive because of presence of soul. Today's class is like a shocker for many. If you stop me and ask me questions, I'm very happy to take those. So people who want to rise, yes.
Guruji, is there a possible that two souls can be in a single body? I mean,
two souls in the same body?
Yeah.
So you're talking about a very complex situation where the person can be haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that time it is possible. They're competing for that body.
Okay. I mean, both the souls cannot coexist in the same body. I mean, it's competing to, get hold of the body. In that sense,
they are taking charge of the body alternately. Both of them cannot be at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very, very exceptionally it happens. And it typically happens when your life force, your morale is very down. Only then it is possible. And then you get exposed to somebody, some soul, some bhatakti atma, who is looking for a body to fulfill the desire. Right? And if you want to kind of go deeper into that, we can. Typically what happens when people die abruptly, or people commit suicide, or people die in an accident, people die not in a peaceful way, in a violent way. They have so many desires in life which they are carrying. I want to do this and I want to do that, and I want to become a millionaire and a billionaire and a zillionaire, and I want Tesla and I want to marry XYZ person. They're dreaming about how to become happy in life. And suddenly a shock comes and they're dead. And they're snatched away from all these solid desires that they have. And that is where, because of the intense pending material desires that they have in life, they become a ghost. And what is a ghost? That I will explain after I explain the architecture of our architecture, which is mind, intelligence, and body. So, and then this person is bodiless and is looking for body to fulfill the desires. And if they find somebody who is in a weak state of mind, or small children or something, they may want to take it over. And the way to prevent that is also I will tell you today. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, because the living entities, the souls, the ghosts, the moving around, they are roaming around at the time of sunrise and at the time of sunset.
Okay.
So if you are doing little kirtan bhajan, and what they don't like, I'll just spell it out, because who knows if I'll be there to tell you everything. So this ghanti and in the Lord's kirtan, the conch shell, those instruments that we use, and also reflecting God's name, is something that is very much disliked by the subtle entities or ghosts, and hence, and because they are roaming the earth at the time of sunrise and sunset, at those two times, if you are doing kirtan in your home, you are completely protected.
Okay.
Yes. So I told you the problem. I told you the solution. Sundays are free. You can call me. I can give you nth level details.
Okay.
You are so the spiritualist, the transcendentalist, people who are trying to make spiritual progress, the The most difficult part in spiritual progress is to actually act on a spiritual platform, because I am so used to being called who I am now, right? As a Ganesh or as a Gauranga Chandra Das. I feel this is who I am 200 pounds, I am this, I am that. So the trick is to put a sticker or some writing on the mirror every day morning, and that sticker says, you are not the body that you see in the mirror. So every morning we are reminded, oh, this is not who I am. So that means even if things go south in life, who cares? Because this is not who I am, right? It is liberating. It is freeing. It mentally frees you up. All kinds of stress for achieving something in life gets under control, because even if you achieve it, you are not this. You're just a very, very complex factory of chemicals running back and forth, processing the energy. But who you are really, you are basically a soul, the driver of the car. So the car is running, the body is running. You are just the soul directing the car. And in your stomach, you're pushing the food. That is like engine that is processing the fuel. It's transmitting the energy to different parts of the body. The eyes are like the camera watching. So effectively, you're just a driver of the car. So when the driver of the car starts to think that I am the car, it becomes a very painful situation, isn't it? For example, I go to the market and I take a big loan and I buy a big Tesla, because the Tesla has been on my dream list for years and years and years. And when I come home and I park the car, and then I do the car puja, then I go to the temple, then I do a car puja, then I call my friends to see the car, then I give them a little ride in the car, then my children sit in the car and everybody sits in the car, and I'm like at the peak of my happiness. And then some 4-year-old neighborhood kid comes and brings some garden instrument and scratches the whole car, or throws some ball and smashes the glass of my car. I go through so much pain. And I want to fight, I want to quarrel, I want to do so many things to express my anger. I want to use probably, not foul language. So what happened? I am the driver of the car. I started thinking I am the car. I expanded my identity to the car. I included the car in my identity. So when somebody hurts the car, I also feel hurt. Same thing happens with the house. We spend so much of time managing our house, decorating our house, and buying new houses, and then designing it and all of that. We start thinking that my identity now includes the house. And when something happens to the house, whether it is the bankruptcy, the bank kicking you out, evictions, so many ways things can go wrong. Some meteorite can hit, fires can rise, earthquakes can happen. When you have to leave your house, extremely painful, extremely painful. There are instances of people who came in and decorated the houses wonderfully. When they're evicted because they cannot pay the loans, they destroy the house. So really, did you love the house, or you thought that is yours and that's why you loved it? So our identity expands into things around us. Me, my house, my car, my wife, my 401k, my country, my language, my caste. All these are expansions of I, me, and mine. And that is where the problem begins. When we say that I am this body, that is the beginning of our problem. Materially, if you ask some atheist in this world, what do they see? They just see different bodies, right? Elephant, cow, everything. But if you ask somebody who really knows Bhagavad Gita, they will see everyone as what? Soul. So they'll not care whether it's a dog or elephant or something. Of course, you have to be careful. But they see the spiritual spark. They see the presence of life in everything. And they know that, it's an elephant today and dog tomorrow, and day after tomorrow it can be an eagle. So they just see that as a life in transmigration. And hence, we talk about equal rights for all human beings. But somebody who studies Bhagavad Gita well says, why only human beings? All the plants, all the animals, everything is children of God. We can treat everything kindly. Why not? It's not about love thy neighbor only, whose name is something Joe, but it's about loving everything that is children of God, and they all our neighbors. We all are sharing the planet. So yes, if human rights are important, animal rights are also important. Guess what? Plant rights are also important.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Okay, so the question I have is, are there different types of souls? For example, when in reincarnation, does the soul go, like a human soul will always go to a human, and an animal soul will go to an animal, or does it interchange?
Excellent question. Who is calling? Who is asking?
Shekhar Singhal.
Yeah, Shekharji, wonderful question. So we have 8.4 million species of life. 84 लक्ष हिंदी में बोलते हैं इसको. So और मराठी में. So these 8.4 million species of life are like, if you come to Washington, if you relocate to Washington, and now you need to rent or buy a house, you don't end up building the house for yourself when you move in, right? You go and find a house. And when you go and find a house, there are two things you look for. What kind of house I want, and what can I afford? I may want a penthouse or a multi-family home or a palace. What can I afford? Oh, I can afford 3-bedroom house, 5-bedroom house. Okay. So a combination of what you want and what you deserve, you occupy one of the houses. Yes. So whether it is rent or buy, or both are temporary. Like that, when the soul takes a life, next life, based on the desire and deserve, you get to occupy one of the houses, which is the body. It goes from anything to anything. There is no limit on who can become what. A human being can become a pig, and a pig can become a demigod. I will tell you a funny story, which is a real story that happened in the past from our Puranas. Indradev. Everybody heard of Indradev?
Yeah.
Indradev is the king of gods, the king of devatas. And once he received in gift a garland from Lord Vishnu. Lord Sri Vishnu personally gifted him his own garland made out of Vaijayanti mala, Vaijayanti flowers. And Indra was a little puffed up and he was a little careless. So he gave it to his elephant, Airavata, the garland. And he was supposed to receive it with respect and care, keep it very carefully and relish and cherish that Lord Sri Vishnu gave him this mala. But he gave it to Airavata. Now Airavata is an elephant. Although very intelligent elephant, is an elephant. He played with it for some time and then he trampled upon it. And basically that was an insult to the mala coming from Lord himself. So he got, Lord Brahma cursed him to become a pig. So Indra, the king of gods, became the pig. Now, when he was born as a pig, he was also given 5-6 wives. Very, very beautiful she-pigs. Okay? 5-6 females, pigs. And every morning, this pig Indra used to wake up and he used to look at his beautiful wives and enjoy his family life. Very romantic life they were living. They were making lots of babies. And every day he used to wake up and say, I need to go and eat stool because I'm pig, right? What do pigs do? They go around looking for stool. So he would go to the different parts of the town and say, oh, here the stool is better than that part of the... And like that, the time was progressing and he was very happy actually. He used to think, my wives are so beautiful. My kids are so cute. I am getting different varieties of stool every day. He was very happy in that curse state. And when the time of the curse was over, Lord Brahma came to receive him saying that, oh, Lord Indra, do you know you are the king of devatas? You are the king of gods. You were under a curse of a spell of a curse. So that is why you were a pig. And now you get to go back and become the king of the heavens again. What did Pig Indra said? The Pig Indra said, oh, whoever you are, I am so happy. look at my wives. They're so beautiful. So, and that is where Lord Brahma understood. He's in a very, very deep spell, and it's not going to break so easily. So what did he do? Lord Brahma, through his powers, he killed all the wives of Indra. Oh my God. If one beautiful wife dies, how much a person can be unhappy, right? But when these 6 wives died, the big Indra was shocked and shaken. And in that trauma, he could rise out of the curse. And he realized, gosh, I'm not even this big. Gosh, I am king of the gods. I don't belong here. Eating stool is not my business. This is not even a good taste. Gosh, how did I eat this? And he immediately travels back to the Swarga planet with Lord Brahma and goes back to his original position. If this story tells you anything, we can go from anything to anything. From Indra to Indrakopa, scriptures say, all have the same problem. Indrakopa is a small worm. His name is Indrakopa. So in the Sanskrit, it is said, from Indra to Indrakopa, everybody has the same problem. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you.
Awesome.
And another question, which my wife is asking actually.
Yes,
she's asking about the size. You said something about the size of the soul.
Yes.
So she wanted to know what is the size of the soul and how did you arrive at that?
The size of the soul is as small as you take a tip of the hair and break it down 10,000 times. That one piece is the size of the soul. That size of that soul resides in the region of our heart and empowers the heart, and from the heart, the energy is transmitted to all of the body. So it practically pervades the whole body, but it resides in the region of the heart. Does that
so,
answer
Prabhu,
the
additional
question?
one small comment. So, Prabhu, it is mentioned also in the Sweta Sutra Upanishad that there it is mentioned the size of the soul. So, scriptural reference if he is looking for.
Thank you. As I told you, Ramamukunda Prabhu keeps me scripturally honest.
Bro, I was just like checking in one of other slide. I think it is mentioned somewhere.
Yeah. So this is like the unseen driver of the bodily car. So you have the sight-seeing ability. The car has headlights. Car makes horn sound. You talk. The car processes energy. We also process energy. The car moves. We also move. So there is lots of similarity between how a driver drives the car versus how we drive this body. But actually, even closer example is, if you have seen the Avatar movie, English Avatar movie, in which they had shown a supersized robot, human-looking robot that they had created, and one could sit in the heart region of that avatar and drive the whole body, and it would appear that that giant is acting and working and talking and fighting, but inside that was a person at the heart actually sitting and controlling the whole thing. If you remember the Avatar movie, probably that's more relevant example than even a car, because what soul is doing is soul is desiring. Soul is desiring. Paramatma, which is a reflection of Lord in our heart, listens to the desire. And then when the soul desires and Paramatma listens, the Paramatma checks the account balance, the karma balance of the soul, to say, does this soul have enough karma balance to process this desire? The desire could be as simple as lifting my hand. Okay? The soul, Ganesha's soul says, I want to lift my hand because I'm giving a class. And this is a very fast network. The Paramatma will check, is there enough balance? Yes. Then all these body organs are basically controlled by some devatas. So the Paramatma is sitting in their heart also. The message goes to the Paramatmas in their heart that allow Ganesh to lift his hand. And the hand goes up. Soul desired, this dead body worked, and the hand went up. So it happens primarily because there is karma balance, and the Paramatma is allowing and the devatas are controlling our organs. What to tell about hand? Even in the morning, we go for evacuation. That is also controlled by a devata. And even the name of the devata is given in the scriptures as Mitradev. If Mitradev is not happy with you, you can take all kinds of laxatives in the world, system will not work. Our body, all the organs are under control. How do we know? Well, when the karma balance is over, some people get some diseases which disables their parts of the body. What happened? The karma balance got over. Or some people, when their sugar, their ability, karma balance to eat sugar goes off, then diabetics. You cannot eat sugar anymore. So everything is driven by the karma balance. It's like a credit card. As long as you swipe, there is a balance or credit, it will work. The moment the balance or credit card credit history is not good, it will get rejected. That's exactly how it works. Not knowing the real identity as the soul, the people spend all their lives in polishing the cage. We are so busy polishing the external cage, which is going to disappear, disintegrate, go away. And the bird within, the parrot, is about to die. We're not even ready to give anything to that. That is why people are so stressed. That is why people are so unhappy, because they're not nourishing the soul. We're not saying ignore the body. We're not saying ignore the family. We're not saying ignore the sociology. We're not saying ignore your investments, but we're saying make your portfolio complete, your investment complete, by also investing into your soul. That is the purpose of this seminar, is don't ignore your soul. Don't ignore who you really are. Don't ignore what will go with you life after life. Do not ignore your true identity. So the 6 changes of body. What are the 6 changes of the body? We'll get into that. Are we just a powerful robot? Let's watch some emotional drama.
I'm sorry. Baby, I'm sorry.
I can't do this anymore.
I don't know what else to do. Tell me what to do.
So now the camera is also watching, and those 3 people are also watching. And the judges, from the eyes of the judges, there is so much of emotion, there is so much of drama, there is so much of emotional response. From the eyes of the camera, just recording some frames, some images, and some sound. It doesn't matter what is happening there. It could be a birthday celebration. It could be a crime scene. It could be anything. Right? So the judges are able to experience something, but the camera is not able to experience. So effectively, we are not a robot. We have emotions and we process those emotions. Even a lot of people think we're just like machines. Okay. So there was some question answer with Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, who went around the world 14 times, installed 108 temples, and had 10,000 disciples. And what happened? So people asked him all kinds of questions about Vedic philosophy, because people who were asking had no context of the Vedic civilization. They didn't even have the culture of how to ask questions. So they would just ask what comes to their mind, which was also very welcome for Srila Prabhupada. He always answered scripturally correct answers. So Swamiji, I think our body is just a complex machine that gets worn out and crashes. Why should we bother about some soul powering the body? Isn't it a fair question? Probably many people will have this question. And what did Srila Prabhupada said? Does your car or computer grow? Do you have a male and female car that can unite and produce a baby car? Can you imagine? You put a Mercedes and a Tesla in a garage at night. In the morning, there is a combination hybrid car, a Mercedes brand, electric car, baby car, which will grow up. Initially, it will carry your infant, then it will carry your children. Now it can carry you also because it's growing up. And you go and smash the car and break the glass. And in 7 days, it heals back. You don't need to take it to garage. It will just heal back. If human engineering catches up with God's engineering, then we can understand the claim that we are God. But we are so many miles away from that. Can we create cars that will produce cars? Look at this planet Earth. It's a perfect factory where 7+ billion people, an unlimited number of animals, unlimited number of plants are symbiotically living, and it's a perfect factory. How it is a perfect factory? Symbiotically perfect factory. The output of one is input of another, and it's all perfect. Oxygen is recycled, carbon is recycled, hydrogen is recycled, nitrogen is recycled. Also, only thing that goes into the earth is sunshine. Everything else is within earth, and it is sustaining so much of life, not for one day, for billions of years in the past and in future. And who is plugging energy into earth? Only sunshine, that's all. Now, when this great science, great scientific advancement, when we want to send a human mission to Mars, we need to create a small unit of life, like Earth, small unit of life where the astronauts can go and live for a very long period of time into the space, and they can sustain life over there. It's not happening yet. We have to send them with ready-made food that is frozen. We're not able to kind of grow nice cilantro, tomato, cauliflower in the space. And we cannot make a complete life cycle like Earth. That explains the limitation of human engineering versus God's engineering. God's engineering is so perfect that we don't even realize how perfect it is. Three major differences between the living body and the robot. The living body undergoes 6 changes. What are those 6 changes? We are born, we are grow up, we sustain for some time, we multiply, we dwindle, and we die. The male and female bodies living together can multiply unlimitedly, right? Even the plants. How beautiful it is that a huge tree fits into a very small seed, like the redwood trees or sequoia trees that we see in California. They fit into such a small seed. What a beautiful engineering of God. Living body has consciousness, thinking, feeling, and willing, where matter has no consciousness. So there are certain very beautiful things about the living beings that we need to understand and appreciate. And I talked about this. The 6 changes of bodies are birth, growth, maintenance, production or byproducts, dwindling, and dying. These are the 6 things we all go through. We want it, we don't want it, we don't have control over it. Even the richest person on this earth will go through this. The soul is covered by gross and subtle coverings. And this is one of the most beautiful slides, so please pay attention. This is our existence. This is who I am. And in the architecture of our own existence, there are multiple levels. What we see each other, that is made out of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Ether means space. So our body is made out of these Pancha Mahabhutas or 5 elements. Even within our body, we have some space between the organs and things like that. There is air. We know that, right? Sometimes we burp and sometimes There is fire. When we feel hungry, there is a fire that's ready to digest the food. There is water, probably 70%. Also on earth, we have 70% water. In the body, we have 70% water. Likewise, on other planets, based on their physical conditions, the bodies are also different. For example, an earthly body cannot exist on the sun planet because sun planet is almost 100% fire. There is not much water and earth and air. So the people who are living there, if there is somebody living there, have to have a body made out of fire. Only then they can survive over there. So every planet, the bodies are based on their conditions. So now that's the gross body, the 5 elements. Under that, there is a subtle body. And that subtle body is made out of mind, intelligence, and ego. And if you understood this, This is one of the most important concepts in spirituality and in our everyday behavior actually. What is mind? Mind is the most powerful database. Why? Because the mind has two things. It has all the desires from the past, all the desires for future and all the experiences from the past. So because the mind has all the experiences from the past, what you experienced yesterday, what you experienced 5 years back, what you experienced at the point of being born, and then what did you experience last life, what did you experience 100 lifetimes back. Everything is recorded very clearly in our mind. So those are the experiences. While living all these lifetimes, we also had desires for future. All those desires are also stored. So the mind has experiences from the past and desires for future. And slowly what is happening? We're adding more experiences and we're evaporating certain desires when we fulfill those. What is the desire? Somebody has a desire, maybe Madhuri Dixit banungi. Somebody wants to become a Bollywood star, Hollywood star, something. And in a future lifetime, they become that. Now that desire is fulfilled. So the desire is now checked off, but now you have some experiences collected from Hollywood and Bollywood. So mind is a very, very powerful database, more powerful than any database you know today, whether it is MySQL or Oracle or, name it. Mind is more powerful than all technical databases we know today. Its indexing is also faster. The thing is, by God's grace, we don't remember all the experience from the past, because even if we remember all the trauma from current life, we will not be able to tolerate that. And hence, it is important that we actually forget about the past, especially previous lifetimes. Intelligence. Intelligence is an energy through which we can discriminate between good and bad. For example, small children, they are playing role play. In the role play, they will say, I'll become Ram, you become Ravana. And the other guy will say, no, I become Ram, you become Ravana. Where did this innate context of Ravana is bad, Ram is good, where did this come from? It came from the fact that this intelligence we carry life after life. That is why we already know what is good, what is bad. So if you're trying to do something different, and if your heartbeat goes up, your intelligence is telling you, Paramatma is telling you, you're about to do something wrong. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's why to do something wrong, your heartbeat goes up. That's a feedback. Take it. Don't do anything wrong. The third thing is ego. What is ego? Ego is, I am thinking I'm Akshay, I'm thinking I'm Ganesh, I'm thinking I'm Adam, I'm thinking I'm Lucy, I'm thinking I'm Laila. All these things, I am thinking I'm this body, is ahamkar, mithya ahankar. Means a soul, a beautiful soul, thinking I am this gross body made out of what? The body is made out of 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. But biologically, if you look at it, it is made out of mucus and phlegm and, saliva, bile, urine, stool, muscles, fat. If you really try to touch those items externally by cutting somebody's body like a doctor, it is so yucky. So our body is made out of yuck stuff, but soul is made out of spirit. The soul that is made out of spirit is full of happiness. It's antibody. It is antimatter. It cannot be destroyed. Its by nature is Sat Chit Ananda. What is the nature of a soul? Sat Chit Ananda. So let me explain. Sat means eternal. Chit means full of knowledge. And Ananda means bliss. So a soul by nature is eternal in nature, full of knowledge and full of bliss. How beautiful it is, isn't it? And what are we stuck into? We're stuck into a subtle body, and that subtle body is stuck into the gross body, and it is all yuck stuff. And this soul, believing I am this body, happens because of being under the energy called as ego, false ego, mithya ahankar. That is how we are stuck in this body. And the spiritual progress, the spiritual path, tapasya, is all about realizing who am I really and following a process to realize who am I really and rising above our karma from the past and going back to where we really belong. The real freedom in the God's kingdom, where there is no birth, there is no death, there is no old age, there is no disease. That is why we say, look at Vedic solutions to the problem. Instead of applying these scientific touchwoods all the time, try to get permanent solution. No band-aids anymore. Solve the real problem. Once and all. No more. Why? Because when we go back to the spiritual life, there is no coming back here again. So the soul is made out of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Isn't that beautiful to know what our true original existence is, how beautiful it is, and that we don't really belong here, and there is always something really better waiting for us. That's our birthright. If we are born as a human being, it's our birthright to get what we really deserve. Now the beauty is, because we are, that's our original thing, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Because that's our original thing, imagine this. When the soul believes I am this body and is living in this world, we are lacking this. We are living a life of Asat, Achit, Nirananda. We are living a life of very temporary. Everything in life is temporary. Body itself is temporary. Even this, everything around us is temporary. The countries are made and countries disappear. Civilizations are made, civilizations disappear. Languages are made, languages disappear. Families are made, families disappear. From birth to death, we are always moving like this. So there is never a constant part in our life. And we are trying to hang on to something, some identity, something more stable, but there is never something really stable. That's why we are always in anxiety. Knowledge. We don't know much about our life. That's why we have to go to Twitter and Instagram and so many places just to know what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. Why WhatsApp is a multi-billion-dollar business? Because we want to know what's up, what is going on. So knowledge is lacking so much when we really believe I am this body. But at a soul level, we know what we need to know. We know about ourselves. We know about our relationship with God. We know what our nature is. We know what our duties are. And at a soul level, there is never any confusion. The confusion is because we end up believing I am this body. And then the bliss. Soul by default is happy. Soul doesn't have to do something to become happy. The soul doesn't have to go to Disneyland to become happy. The soul doesn't have to go to watch sports to become happy. The soul doesn't have to do something to become happy. Soul is just happy. By default happy. But the body is by default unhappy. So we have to always jumpstart and do something to become happy. And that is why we have to do so much activity, so much of preparation, so much of planning. When you organize a party, you invite your friends, so much work you put in to make your house picture perfect. Why? And then if required, we borrow the money and we buy the things and we decorate our house to impress the people who don't care about it, who probably will feel jealous, envious. And we're saying, ha ha ha, jal gaya sala. So we are trying to do things which does not really give us real happiness. We are trying to follow some kind of a false happiness. Only because we have forgotten who am I really. So let's look at the scientific proof, because nowadays, high schoolers, teenagers, everybody wants little science in the middle of everything. Without science, just trusting Bhagavad Gita, 5,000-year-old book, I used to know Visual Basic, now it is useless. I used to know COBOL, now it is useless. I used to know Power Builder, now it is useless. I used to know ASP, now it is useless. So even Bhagavad Gita must be useless. It is 5,000 years old. So what is current? But the reality is Bhagavad Gita is still relevant and applicable. So let's look at some science part of it. In your own language, try to think of a statement. When a person dies, we say, she has passed away. Who has passed away? The person you are hugging and kissing is right there. The soul has passed away. Consciousness, a camera will only see the red light, but if a couple is walking, they will be reminded of their younger days. They'll be reminded of their romantic days. They'll be reminded of their honeymoon. They'll be reminded of some positive memories. So human beings relate with things differently than cameras and robots and machines. So I believe we may have sent this video, but for those who have not, let's play through this. If you see any issue, let me know.
In Germany, Christina's doctors are also losing their battle. Her heart will not restart. She has just minutes before her brain too shuts down.
Es wurden Defibrillationsschocks.
We were trying to jumpstart her heart with a defibrillator.
Zum Schlagen zu bringen. Gleichzeitig
and we gave her several drugs.
Seite mehrere Medikamente. The
patient had lost too much blood. Her organs weren't getting enough. We really didn't think we could save her.
Because Christina's heart has stopped pumping, many would consider her dead. Yet something seems to be happening with her mind.
Das nächste, was ich wieder weiß, ist, ja, dass ich wohl unter der Decke.
Next thing I know, I was hovering underneath the ceiling of the room. I could see down on myself laying on the operating table. And I saw the surgeons and heard them talking to each other. The scenario was pretty hectic. I realized that this was about life or death.
To help understand near-death experiences, some researchers focus on the content of these episodes.
A common element that occurs early in near-death experiences is what's called an out-of-body experience. At that time, the person seems to be able to see and hear things going on, but up from the vantage point above their body.
So the scientists, or not even scientists, the medical people in different countries have observed this near-death experience, which has been, now it has a name. It has people who have recorded these experiences. And if you Google on near-death experience or out-of-body experience, you'll find a lot of cases around this. And hence, we're not looking at going through each one of them, but primarily covering. So let's just play this again. So there is some percentage of American population who have gone through the OBE. That's what the medicals say. I'll be honest with you. I have not done any OBE to myself. So for those who have seen it, and there are people, this is my 18th batch for Discover Yourself class. I have met with students who come and tell me that, yes, I have experienced this. Enough research in NDE with impeccable scientific credentials. Dr. Michael Sabom, So there are multiple scientists or doctors who have experimented with this. The research on eternal soul by Dr. Surgeon Bigol. So there is enough science around this that there are dozens and dozens and dozens of books written on this. If you are interested in this, just take a snapshot of this screen, so that you can go buy those books, read that, come and tell me what you learned. We are simply focusing on what Bhagavad Gita says, but there are a lot of people who have also done a lot of research. Ultimately, it will confirm what Bhagavad Gita says, but it's something that anybody can take interest and go deeper into. The next topic we get into is reincarnation. Ian Stevenson, Carlson Professor of Psychiatry, University of Virginia, he has investigated more than 2,000 cases of spontaneous reincarnation memories. What does this spontaneous reincarnation of memories mean? A small child at the age of talking suddenly starts to suddenly starts to talk in a language that is not known to the family, not known to the village, not known in the culture, and surprises the family, and then starts to talk like an adult and says, hey, look, I existed before. I was in a certain village or certain place somewhere else, and this is what my name was, and if you can take me there, please, because my family members are waiting for me. I died like this. They remember everything. And then what happens when a case like this comes to the notice? The Dr. Ian Stevenson and his student, Dr. Pasricha in Bangalore, they go and research that case. They research and they try to eliminate possible fraud. What does possible fraud means? They want to eliminate possibilities of somebody trying to pretend to be someone else only because they're trying to acquire somebody's money. There is identity theft. It could be anything, like a very rich person's only son died in the village. Somebody may say a year later, 2 years later, that my child is now the same person, attracting some sympathy, some money, something. And that is where they try to eliminate by a lot of investigation. And after that, when it is confirmed that this is a real case of reincarnation, then they record it. And like that, after all eliminations, they have recorded more than 2,000 cases. Another slide where you can take a snapshot of this if you're interested, and you can buy and read those books if you want to go deeper into that, because our job and role is to highlight you what all exists out there, because there are things we know, there are things we do not know, and there are things we do not know that we do not know. And this Discover Yourself brings about that, right? Things we do not know that we do not know. And once that gets exposed, you are welcome to go and research it all. Phobias is another area of research, which also comes from the fact that we have lived multiple lifetimes. And Dr. Ian Stevenson has done research on phobias are related to the mode of death, the person whose life is being remembered. What does that mean? If I have phobia of water, then I have drowned before. If I have phobia of knife, then somebody killed me before. If I have phobia of shooting, then possibly I died in a shootout. So there are phobias, and if you have a very specific phobia that you're working on, what I have heard, seen, talk about is the past life regression methods, which allows you to hypnotically go into your previous lifetime to see why you have that phobia, allows you to rise out of that phobia. It's not ISKCON's recommendation. It's not exactly said in Bhagavad Gita. It's practically I know by talking to other people. I can even tell you some top experts in that area. But that's only if you're solving a problem, which is some phobia, some relationship that is really causing you hurt, anything. Twins. The beauty is even twins who are born from the same mother, same nakshatra, same genetic material can have completely two different temperaments. Why? Because they are two distinct souls doing their own journey. They happen to be together in that mother's womb. Another very interesting video is coming up.
They have the same name and boyish good looks. James M. Houston, raised in the Midwest. James M. Leininger, a young boy from the Bayou.
Whoa! There's something in the eyes. It's undeniable.
That's not all they share.
Somehow James Houston's spirit has affected my son, either through reincarnation. I don't know how it happened.
I can beat the Japanese easy as pie.
Initially.
And every night he slept with his G.I. Joe action figures, which he named.
That's not a bomb, that's a drop tank.
Bouncing about in the cockpit, James was flying high. That night, their world would change forever.
He started having the nightmares, and that was my first indication that there was something wrong. It was a panic-stricken, terrorized screaming.
Over and over again, James had the same terrible nightmare, 4 to 5 times a week. He was too young to explain the dream, but he could draw.
bombing ships. You see men parachuting. Here's another one where planes are dropping bombs.
Help me.
He would just be crying. He'd say, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. He laid on his back and kicked up at the ceiling, and he goes, Mama, the little man's going like this. And he laid on his back and kicked his feet up. The little man's going, ooh, 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 can't get out. And I said, well, who's the little man, baby? And he goes, me. I thought Bruce and I were just gonna faint.
They questioned, what kind of plane?
Corsair.
Why did your airplane crash?
My plane was shot down.
Who shot your plane?
He looked at me like I was a village idiot. He said,
The Japanese. I kept thinking, where is he getting this? I was a stay-at-home mom, so I know that there wasn't anything that he was being exposed to.
Not exposed to in this life, but perhaps, just maybe, somebody else was. Decades earlier, James Houston grew up with the same insatiable fascination with airplanes. He became a naval fighter pilot and fought in World War II. March was declared missing and presumed dead.
where did he take off from a boat?
Do you remember the name of your boat? He said Natoma.
Found several thousand hits on the word Natoma.
The USS Natoma Bay launched into battle headed for Iwo Jima in the fight for Leyte Gulf.
It's the biggest naval battle in the history of the world.
Leo Pyatt served on the ship. From his home in Ohio, he organizes the Natoma Bay reunions. That's how Bruce found him.
I wanted to disprove it.
He asked a few questions about, did I know some of the people? Oh yeah, I remember those people. And so he got very quiet.
It was all real. The people and places James described actually existed. And remember those G.I. Joe dolls that James named? Turns out 3 men with the same names, first and last, served on the Natoma and were killed in action. James said they greeted him in heaven after his crash.
I'd always asked him, do you remember what your name was? And he always said James. But his name is James.
Yes, there was a Jim Houston, a rather large shell. Just hit him in the engine and it burst into flames and went down.
They showed Leo the drawings.
He was right on the nose. I'm sure, in my mind, that he was there.
She wasn't my oldest sister. I had an older sister than that. And I said, you did? Who was that? And he goes, Ruth. I mean, Ruth.
And too amazing to describe how he would feel that way, but he does. He considers me his sister.
But does she consider James her brother?
I think it's probably a reincarnation of my brother.
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.
Now, the interesting part is the family in which they experience this kid experiencing the last life is a Southern Baptist family. And in Bible, in Christianity, there is no place for reincarnation. You can Google on that. It was there and it was removed. But today, if you ask, most of the Christians will say, we don't believe in reincarnation. So they tried everything to disprove it. They tried everything to find what else could be happening. And when finally they did not have a choice because the evidence was so overwhelming, they wrote a book and started honestly and frankly and publicly talking about it. This is what happens because Bible doesn't support it. Even if some kids experience, some people may just ignore it, put it down, try to think, no, it is something else. So what Benjamin Franklin is saying, finding myself to exist in the world, I believe I shall in some shape or other always exist. Means I'm basically living forever. So, there's a reason why we go for rock climbing and mountaineering and, adventure sports. Because somewhere deep down, there is a clear feeling that I really don't die. I exist forever. John Adams, those souls who revolted against God were placed here to transmigrate through various species of animals, birds, reptiles, etc. And then what does Socrates say? I am confident that there truly is such a thing as living again, and the living spring from the dead. Basically, we die and we are born again. Socrates was, and these are some of the greatest thinkers, right, in this part of the world. So one famous story is Shukla Gupta remembering her past life. Dr. Ian Stevenson studied and recorded this. So when she was little more than 5, so Sri Sen Gupta and 5 other members of his family journeyed with her to Bhattapura, because she was saying, oh, I belong to some other place. I have a daughter there. I have a husband there. Who is talking? A 5-year-old girl. And in that new village where they had never been before, she took lots of turns, avoiding lots of wrong turns, and she brought them straight to the house of Sri Amrit Lal Chakravarti, alleged her father-in-law in the past life. And when the father-in-law was passing by on the road, that little 5-year-old girl was like doing the action of pulling the ghungat, because in North India, in some places, you have to pull your ghungat in front of elders. Shukla recognized her previous lifetime house. She couldn't recognize the door because since she left, they had changed the entry of the house from a different direction. And they made around 10-12 people of her husband's age stand in line with her husband. She exactly recognized who her husband was. She told what was his favorite dish. And she started cuddling her daughter from last life who was bigger than her. So there are examples after examples after examples. In Mumbai, where this Discover Self course happens a lot in the ISKCON Chowpatty temple, one fine day, this was years back, a student stood up and said, I am a case of reincarnation. And in Mumbai ISKCON and Pune ISKCON, they focus a lot on teaching to college students. And so this teacher, monk, thought maybe he's just trying to impress some of the classmates. But the reality was, he said, I can bring you news clippings next time. And I was very famous when I was small because of my ability to remember the past life. But I also used to get headache. Every time I remembered that, I used to get headache. And as I grew out of it, like age 5 to 10, it evaporated. So it's a blessing to not remember the past life because it can give you headache.
So Prabhuji, there are some questions in the chat window, and I think recently there is a question by Manoj Devagan. I think just now whatever you said that answers it, but you can just go through, Prabhu, if you want.
I'm trying to find the chats.
I can read for you, Prabhu. The latest question is, why only few people remember previous life? Are they special or any logic behind that?
Excellent. Who's asking question?
Manoj Devagan.
Manoj,
Devangan.
This is an excellent question. The answer is, in this lifetime, do we remember everything? The answer is no. We don't remember everything. We forget many things. We remember few things. What do we remember? We remember something that was prominent. It is happiness, it is emotions, it is insults, it is sometimes somebody said yes to you. So you remember the prominent memories that made deeper mark in your brain. So even from the past life, those who have very prominent memories, they may remember it. And they also remember it in only the younger age. And it's not, I mean, it's God's blessing that we forget actually.
Yeah.
Because there are people who they remember their previous mother and they remember this mother, and now the lady is living 6 months with the previous mother and 6 months with this mother. So it gets very confusing when you have like 2 lifetimes running at the same time. It's really painful.
Yeah, Prabhu, and that also answers one more question by Deepa Giriya. She's asking, is it possible to remember our past life? Does it affect our present life? I think you just answered that question as well.
Yeah, we can remember our past life if that's our curiosity by using the past life regression methods. ISKCON doesn't recommend it. I don't recommend it. But if you are hell-bent on doing it, I can point you to the experts. Typically, they are used in the context of solving some phobias. They are in the context of answering some questions of this life, why it is like this and why it is like that. But and those they're supposed to be answered by the past life regression. It's supposed to be healed out of it. But if you're not facing any major issue and if you just want to do it out of curiosity, that's a different story.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, there is one more question. Maybe you are covering that now. Does karma decides which body would the soul get in the next life? I think that is what the current slide is. You are trying to show.
Yes. Something I explained, right? The desire and the deserve parts. Yeah, we're getting there right now. The soul leaves the gross body behind and it takes into another womb based on the quality of the desires. So what happens to us at the point of death? The soul leaves the gross body, and gross body is the dead body, and is taken to another womb, another mother, based on the quality of the desire stored in the subtle body. Your mind and intelligence, you remember? The mind is storing the desires. So based on the desires, gets the new body. And desire and deserve. And what does Bhagavad Gita say? 2.22, second chapter, 22nd shloka. As a person puts on new dresses, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. That is the process of transmigration from one body to another. Even in the current body, old cells are dying, new cells are born. There is a continuous change. The soul is always passing through a changing body. At the point of death, it's also a change of body. Bhagavad Gita says, your body is changing now also, and your body is changing at the point of death also. So people who are not too worried about what happens at the point of death are the people who are dhiras, people who are confident in dealing with life. On what basis is the soul awarded the next body? Right? It's a desire and the deserve funda. What is desire and deserve funda? And this is another very, very crucial points of Bhagavad Gita. If you got this, you got probably Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam va pismaranam bhava tejati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sattad bhava bhavitav. What does that mean? Look at these expressions. These expressions tell you what they are thinking. What is the state of their mind? The state of mind is so powerful. If this person dies now, what will be the new life? Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So the mood in which you die is the mood in which you are born again. So always maintain, or at least try to maintain, very good mood. Because your mood is your next life. Death can arrive anytime. Snap. Next second we could be dead. What was the mood we are in? That's our next life. What are the thoughts we have? That's our next life. So it is extremely important to spend every second, every minute of this life thinking about God, thinking about yourself as a soul, so that if death arrives, God will take us back, because we are thinking of God, right? But if somebody was thinking of dogs all the time, then they can become a dog. So we can become God conscious, we can become dog conscious. Choice is really ours, and that decides our new life. So the desires. I like to fly. I like to fly all the time. I like to go on the top of the Tiger Mountain, and I'm doing parasailing all the time. I like to do parachute jumping. I like to do bungee jumping. I like to be in the air all the time. What does paragliding and all kinds of parasailing? So what does that mean? I like to fly. Then the next life is basically based on my karma. I will have something that flies as a body. If I have very low karma, I could be a cockroach. It also flies a little in the gutter. Or I could be a mosquito, right? Or I can be an eagle. It all depends on my karma balance. Just like we occupy the size and the beauty of the house we occupy in the place we live in the new city when we move into. When we move into a new body, that body, the quality of that body depends on the quality of the karma we have. For example, if you want to live in governor's mansion, but you don't have karma for it, you want to live in, say, for example, you become a president and you want to be president for life, but democratically you have to get out. So now the karma balance is over. You're supposed to get out. But your desire is always, no, I want to be in this president's palace. I want to be in the president's palace. That is fine. At the point of death, one may get the body of a rat or something that is running around in the garden of the president's palace. And at night, the rat comes out and starts walking as if I am the president. I am living in the president's palace. But what's really happening is, karmically, the karma balance is less. So one may get the body of an animal roaming around. So technically speaking, you got to live in the president's palace, but practically not as a president. Do you see that? So the future may come true. Be careful of what you desire. There was this queen in a European country who asked Nostradamus, a great fortune teller, what is the future of my 3 sons? 3 princes, basically, her sons. And Nostradamus said, all of them will become the king. She was so happy. She thought, my 3 sons are going to conquer 3 countries in Europe, and I am going to be the mother queen of 3 countries. Well, the first son became the king, and then he went to the war or something and he died. The second son became the king. He got sick or something and he died. And then the third son became the king. So basically she lost 2 of her sons. But when she learned her sons are going to become 3 kings, she thought, wow. So be careful of what you desire, because your desire coming true may not be in a way that you will become happy. There are 2 different things. Desire coming true is different than becoming happy. People who missed the boat because they were late in going to the Titanic ended up becoming happy that they did not get the boat. But they missed their desire to ride the Titanic, but they were happy that they missed their desire. So becoming happy is different than achieving the desire. For example, a fisherman goes into the nearby ocean to his village and hits, basically his boat is hit by a storm. The waves are so high, he's not able to see which way is the land. In that stormy night, the boat is about to go into the water, and all he's hoping and praying to God is, let me just see which way is the land, because I know I can swim. And suddenly he sees some kind of a fire in one direction, and he realizes that's the land. And that's the time his boat goes into the water, and he starts swimming frantically in those very powerful waves in the direction he saw the fire. And he comes to the shore swimming and finally comes near the fire, which is basically his house on fire. His house is on fire, and his wife is crying vehemently. Ah, my house, our lifelong investment, such a beautiful house, ancestral house. All my clothes were in the house. My wedding sari is in the house. And this husband goes near to her and says that, stop crying. Because the house is on fire, I am alive today. So what is good, what is bad in life is very complex to decide. Only in the context of completing your life, you will know when you look back what was good and what was bad. Because you don't know what else could have happened, right? So life is, in a way, it's like a dream that is happening for real. And when you go to sleep, you get a dream. That dream is also real. Sometimes it is so real, you can sweat. Your heartbeat will go up. But when you wake up again, you remember the dream. But then, just like we remember yesterday. How do you remember the dream at night? Just like how you remember yesterday. If I met with my friend yesterday, how do I remember it? Just like how I remember the dream at the night. So life is also like a dream, because anything can happen anytime. There is no limits or bounds on what is possible. Who thought 1 year back or little before that we will have a pandemic and our travels will be separated, our family members will be lost, we will not be able to connect with our family in a normal way? Who thought all these things? Nobody thought. So life progress is like a dream, and anything is possible. When one ignores the God's laws and engages in the sinful activities with his impure mind and senses, then one glides down the animal bodies. How do you get animal bodies? By behaving like animals. By the way, animals many a times behave better than the human beings. For example, they will not kill without being hungry, and they will not attack without being scared for their life. So they follow a lot of things in a rhythm, nature's rhythm, whereas we do a lot of things just in a sinful manner, actually. So, as per Bhagavad Gita and scriptural guidance, how do we get, say, tiger's body? If we like to eat meat all the time, then the Mother Nature says, okay, I will award you a body where all life you will eat meat only. So your desire to eat meat gets completed in the tiger's body. But what happens, there are two parts of it. One is the animals don't get any karma out of eating the meat or the hunting the other animals, primarily because they don't have control over it now. They are only cleaning their previous karma. And but the other side of it is there is suffering involved also. How? An old tiger is typically not able to hunt, will die because of hunger and weak body. So he will see the deers walking around, is not able to chase them, and finally dies hungry. Such a sad way to die for a powerful animal like a tiger. But the second part is, even if the tiger is in the middle of an apple garden and sees all these wonderful red, fresh apples around him, the tiger will die hungry but will not eat the apple. Why? It is controlled by Paramatma. It is controlled by the reflection of God in the heart. It is controlled. It is working on its instincts. The instinct is to hunt and eat. And they are bound, that soul in that body is bound by the instincts of that body. If a soul is in a dog's body, the moment the dog sees the master, will wag the tail. And the moment sees the stranger, the dog has to bark. Around the world, all the dogs have the same instinct. They're guided by the Paramatma and they're cleaning their karma. Somebody likes to sleep. 18 hours sleeping, 20 hours sleeping, multiple days of sleeping, intoxication and sleeping. Okay, the Mother Nature says, we'll award you a polar bear's body where you can sleep for 6 months. Your whole hibernation desires will be completed. Some people do not like to wear enough clothes. They like to expose the skin. So Mother Nature says, we'll make you a tree, because the trees don't wear any clothes and they like to expose to the elements, the weather. So we'll make you a tree. Now enjoy it for hundreds of years, thousands of years. So end of the day, we have a choice in the human form. Human form is like an airport. You go to the SeaTac airport, you have a choice. You can take a flight. But once you board a flight, you don't have much choice. You can move around in the flight, but you cannot change your flight in a different direction. Another example is when we go to Disneyland, Universal, we want to enjoy a ride. Okay, up to the point you decide which ride you want to enjoy, you have a choice. Up to the point you go and sit in the ride, you have a choice. The moment that belt, the bar comes and locks you and the ride begins, your choice is lost. After that, the ride will take you. So we also have a choice. Sometimes we have a choice and sometimes we don't have a choice. So for example, you go in a 50-story building and decide to jump, look through the window, it's 50-story deep, you decide to jump out. Up to the point you decide to jump out, you have a choice. But once you jumped and you're falling down, you'll say in the middle of this fall down, you'll say, Maza nahi aa raha, I'm not enjoying, I want to go back up. No, now you don't have a choice. So like that in life also, there are times when we have a choice and there are times we don't have a choice. For example, when we were in the womb of our mother, we didn't have much choice. When we were in our diapers, we didn't have much choice. Again, we'll become so old and fragile in the old age homes, cannot see anything, cannot hear anything. We're completely dependent on somebody's mercy to go to washroom also. Again, we don't have choice. Senses will not work, memory will not work, recognition will not work. We have a moment of opportunity only within human life, only during the middle of the human life when we are adult enough to make choices, to choose spirituality, to choose God, to choose good behavior, to leave some good legacy behind us. And that is where, if we make a choice, in the right direction, then we go in the right direction. We make a wrong choice, we can be going down. So if we want to live as a future life as a human being or a higher life like a devata, or you want to go back to the spiritual kingdom, you make good choices. If you want to go down to animal life, hellish life, or even if it is human life, very suffering human life, then yeah, we can engage in the sinful activities. As per scriptures, there are 4 pillars of sinful life. I would give you the word of caution if very small children are watching with what's coming. So, you know, if the butcher houses had glass windows or glass walls, everybody would be a vegetarian. That is fact of life. So the meat that we eat is one pillar. Why? Because it lacks the compassion for the other living entities, which are also children of God. And then all kinds of intoxication, which means the alcohol, the drugs, anything that is habit forming, which influences your mind, is addictive, difficult to come out of it, is also another pillar of sinful life, because it's easier to do more sinful activities once you are intoxicated. Gambling is another pillar of sinful life because it destroys your confidence in, if I do good things will happen, because you see that suddenly somebody hits a jackpot, somebody gets a big money, and it's like they were just ordinary Joe walking with you into the casino and they got money out of it and you did not. And that is where our confidence in good behavior goes down. That is why gambling is a pillar of sinful life. And then illicit sex. What is illicit sex? Trying to connect with somebody for romantic relationships outside of a married life. That becomes a pillar of sinful life as per scriptures. These are the 4 pillars. These 4 pillars of sinful life will take us into more sins, more types of sins. But these 4 are very, very prominent, or the starting points. And if we can be safe from these 4, then that allows us to enjoy more freedom this life and fantastic freedom in the future life also, in line with scriptures. I'm just, I'm not smart enough to make this up on my own. We are basically referring to scriptures on this. So based on what you eat, what you become. Based on what you do, what you become. If we lead responsible lives, following religious principles, practicing good vegetarian food, fresh, organic, nicely made, right? That's one example of how we could be living. Living God-conscious life. That means we're trying to reconnect with God. When we say yoga as a system, yoga means connecting 2 points. What is one point? Us. What is the second point? God. So there are processes available as per scriptures, and we'll get into more details on that. But basically reconnecting with God means you have to drop what is in your hand to get something better. Yes. So that means we need to start reinvesting what God has given to us in our relationship with God again. For example, if a mother says, "Oh, my kids, oh, my two boys and 2 girls, you are so cute, so darling of mine. I love you so much, but I am not going to do zilch for you." Means what? I'll not buy you clothes. I'll not make you food. I'll not clean your rooms. I'll not help you. I'll not clean your diapers. Nothing. But I love you. Is that real love? No. The real love is when love is in action. Love is in details. Love is in planning. Love is in thoughts. Love is in action. And that is why our love for God also reflects in the action. That's why the devotional service is how Prabhupada translated bhakti. Bhakti is not just man ke andar, I think of God within my heart and that is why my process is complete. No, it should reflect in your action also. How do you reflect? What are you doing for God? Just like, we say, what are you doing for the country? It's not what America is doing for you. It's what are you doing for America, right? Likewise, it's not about how God is serving you. It's about what are you willing to do for God in the service of God. And that is where we can express our love. We can express our gratitude. We can express our relationship by doing something for God. How, where, how much, that we will get into. Another thing we can do is learn about God. What does that mean? If we fall in love with someone, what is the first thing we want to do? The very first thing we want to do is we want to find out about that person, isn't it? More about that person. Where does that person live? What does that person like? What that person dislike? What are the hobbies? Anything. So by reading the scriptures, we learn about God. We learn about how to connect with God. We learn how to engage with God. And that is why Mahabharata, Ramayana, Bible, Quran, Bhagavad Gita, these are all scriptures which are pointing us in the right direction. Now, they may be pointing us in the right direction, but sometimes we find contradictions. Why those contradictions exist? Because different books were given to people in different locations, in different cultures, at different times, in that context. And because they were given in that context, something was applicable then and there. But if we try to stretch it beyond the context, it becomes a contradiction. It may be, say, for example, when Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON founder Acharya, when he went to South Africa for preaching Bhagavad Gita, the 4 pillars of sinful life we talked about, right? So wherever he would go, he would talk about, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And because these are the main pillars of life. And then one fine morning, he woke up and he saw that he had put his dhoti and kurta, he washed and put it for drying and it's gone. Then he went to his bag and got another dhoti kurta. He put it on and came for the morning class, Bhagavatam class. And what he saw was one of his students was wearing his dhoti and another student was wearing his kurta. And he was shocked. After the class, he inquired, what happened? I put my clothes for drying and they're gone. And now I see my students are only wearing my clothes and they're taking it without my permission. And he said, no, the culture over here is if you leave something in the open, then it's fair game for anybody to take it. Oh, so when Prabhupada learned that, he said, okay, the 5th rule I'm adding is you're not supposed to steal your guru's clothes. So based on the situation, rules are added. All right. That means when you see the scriptures which are given in the different parts of the world at different times, those rules and regulations were given in line with what that culture needed at that point in time. Right? That explains why the books look a little different. And we'll get into more details about what are the actual differences. And then association. It is said that the people that you connect with are the people we can tell you about. Means we can tell about you by knowing about 10 friends around you. So if you connect with people who are spiritually minded, social service minded, they like to give more, receive less, now you know that you are also in that nature. But it is not possible for you to connect with people that are not like you. So the more you connect with spiritually minded people, the more you will make a progress in the spirituality also. So association is everything. All you need is a friend in spirituality, or you make friendship with somebody who is in spirituality, and they will reveal you ways to move fast, very, very fast forward. So austerity, sacrifice, knowledge, and association. These are the pillars of spiritual life. So then we elevate gradually from getting pulled into Las Vegas kind of situations into the situations of spiritual realizations. And accidents happen on a royal highway also. Even in the spiritual path, there is a danger all the time of getting distracted into something. If you are working under a coach, you are working under a teacher in your spiritual life, you are making your major life decisions in discussion with your spiritual teacher, they will be able to protect you from lots of incorrect decisions of life. And when I say incorrect, spiritually incorrect. They cannot tell you which stocks to invest so that you'll become rich. But they will tell you that if you take a very intense job, it will naturally impact your spirituality and things like that. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that we belong to God. We are not God himself. There is a perception in some spiritual paths in India that, oh, I am God myself. And if somebody comes to you and says that I am God, only question you have to ask is, last time you had your appraisal, what was your rating? Because if you're really God, why are you getting appraised? Or when was the last time you had constipation? So it's a very simple way to solve. If somebody is in the illusion that they are God, no, we are soul, we are a tiny soul, we are God's children, and we connect with God, in relationship with God, and we cooperate with each other as a God's family. But we are not God himself, because if we were God, why would we be suffering here like this? Leaving Lord's company, forced to be born in the pain, in the world filled with agony again and again. What's our situation? We have given up the hand of God. We have consciously chosen to walk away from God, and now we are suffering. But that suffering is also like a wake-up call. And if we take it up as a wake-up call, then it is all worth it, because that brings us back to the spiritual path and allows us to go back. For some people, that wake-up call is not loud enough. So they wait for more sufferings across more lifetimes before they wake up to the spirituality. Lucky are those, fortunate are those, congratulations to those who decide to use the sufferings of life as a wake-up call and say, me as a soul, I don't deserve this, what is going on around me. I don't deserve all these sufferings. I don't deserve this subjugation. I don't deserve this hatred that is imparted upon me. I don't deserve all this bad treatment that is coming to me. So what do? I start my spiritual progress fast enough to go back to spiritual kingdom this lifetime. Make this life the last life. Why? Because it is possible. If it is possible, why would I not use it? It's my birthright to use it. After 4.8 million species of life, after taking so many lifetimes, life of a khatmal, life of a mosquito, life of a cockroach, life of an eagle, life of a tiger, life of a cow, I have taken so many lifetimes, and finally I came to the human life. What is the human life all about? Human life is all about knowing that I can perfect my spiritual life in this lifetime. Making the best of it is the best way to make the human life successful. Knowing that we can die any moment, we should start now and here. We should not wait for another calamity to strike. So what is the power of God? I make swimming pool. God makes oceans. I can fly a rocket. God can float huge planets. So God is amazing, and his powers are amazing. And whatever God has unlimited, I have little bit. I can invent a dome light, but God creates the moonlight. We make ordinary dolls, but Lord can make all of us. So God's powers are unlimited. Our powers are limited, but we have kind of similar inclinations and similar powers. So practical application of knowledge is, and I'll go slightly faster through this, is we acquire good habits, good thoughts, good behavior, and as a result, we are not so stressed. We are able to ride above the problems of life. Like if you are going on a bumpy road in a bullock cart, what will happen? Your back will hurt. But if you're going on the same road in a Mercedes-Benz or a good higher-end vehicle, then because the shock ups are good, the suspensions are good, the frame is good, it will minimize the damage to your back, isn't it? So the similar way, when you try to live a spiritual life, the problems of life will hit you less. There will still be problems of life, because otherwise we have a tendency to forget the spiritual path only. If everything becomes exactly how we want it, really we wouldn't care about God, because we haven't reconnected and redeveloped with God yet. What divides us really in the human life is whites, blacks, yellows, browns, Indians, Pakistanis, Hindus, Muslims, rich, poor, educated, illiterate, beautiful, ugly. All these are skin diseases. These are all bodily consciousness, right? So United Nations was created, but every year we are adding more countries. How is it that we are uniting nations? We are divided nations basically, right? Because we are dividing and creating more countries. But ISKCON, International Society of Krishna Consciousness, is real United Nations. Why it is real United Nations? I will show you an example. So first personality here is Jew. This monk is a Jew. His name is His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj. And because his ancestry is Jewish, we know that in the Second World War, lots of Nazis attacked the Jews and killed, God knows, 6 million of those. And they went through a horrific time. And Maharaj knows his relatives and ancestors who were killed. How much hatred one should have for Nazis, yes, if your own family members were killed. But now he has another monk in ISKCON who is from the Nazi ancestry. Ramamukund Prabhu, do you know his name? I think it is Satchidananda Maharaj. So,
yeah, that's right.
Right? Okay. So now they are the best buddies. And next to that, this person shown as white is the Indradumna Swami Maharaj, who was a commando in the American army, Green Beret or something. And then the person who is shown black is Jai Tirtha Maharaj? Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. So now you see people from very, very different backgrounds. They all are Maharajas in ISKCON. They are all monks, celibate monks for life, sannyasis in ISKCON. And they are the best friends, and they can remember name of God, they can dance together, they can walk together, they can eat together. And the statement by Radhanath Maharaj is, your forefathers, basically Hitler, killed my forefathers, which are Jews. But fortunately, I have no enmity with you, because I know by grace of Lord Krishna that we are not these superficial bodies, but spirit souls. Like the driver is different from the body. Can you imagine the United Nations will be so powerful if everyone lives at a level of being God's children and being souls, and it does not matter what bodies we have? Can you imagine the happiness? Can you imagine if the whole earth adopts these principles of not attacking each other? Because all the weaponry, all the defense budgets can be converted into medical budgets, education budgets, culture budgets, values budgets, gardens, plants, organic food, yoga, all the problems of life. So God, there is enough for the needs of everyone. There is not enough for the greed of even one person. So it is not God-given problem. We have created our own problems. We decided to separate from God. God has still given us a complete planet with complete amenities. But if we decide to hurt ourselves, we are going to suffer. That is called as law of karma. And that's what is coming in the last session of this series. So I will jump through this. Yes, definitely with positive attitude, you get so many positive things. In the video that will share you back with you, you can go in detail on this, ask me questions. But the whole idea is there is a right use of resources. You can put your millions of dollars in the Bank of Panama and the Bank of Switzerland and say, oh, now even my kid cannot take away my money. But, or you can do charity, lots of charity, and feed the right people, animals, everything. So the first thing is acquiring benefits. Benefits of soul awareness is what? You acquire divine assets, freedom from demonic nature. Our tendencies to misbehave goes down because now I know I am not this body. I know that person is also not this body. Freedom from lamentation, fear, and illusion goes away. Why? Because, hey, I'm a soul, and as long as I can go back to my soul life, life is good. Universal brotherhood. What does that mean? We don't have to hate anyone. We all are children of God. We are all soul, and not only human beings, but also the animals and everything that's living around us. And that also changes the outlook. It becomes a very positive outlook, and attitude of life improves like anything. We develop the art and science of mantra meditation, because now that we are soul, the tapasya, the tapascharya is the process of doing some meditation to remember God at the point of death and while living also. And we start to live very conscious life. That means the resources that we have, we start to use them very wisely. Why? Because we know they are God-given. They don't belong to me. I did not go to Costco, Apna Bazaar to buy my intelligence, to buy my looks, to buy a heart that works for 100 years, pumping the blood continuously. Every organ in our body, if it fails, number of dollars we have to invest to make it work again. We have already $1 billion in our working body. So just health is wealth, really speaking. And even a mind that is not out of its mind, that is also wealth. And mantra meditation.
Now
Hari Bol.